Welcome to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/Animal Stories for Kids. And now, it's time for our story. Once upon a time, there was a Balkan lynx named Damian. Damian the Balkan lynx lived in the forests and the mountains of the Balkans. Every morning, Damian would stretch and yawn before he left his den to enjoy the day. On one particular day, Damian the Balkan lynx was enjoying the cool mountain air while walking around his territory, when all of a sudden, he noticed another Balkan lynx who decided to make its hangout spot in an overlapping area of Damian's territory. It wasn't really Damian's territory, but it was right next to it. And it was a bit too close for Damian, the Balkan lynx. So he wanted to see why this other lynx was hanging out so close to him. Damian got close and glared at the other Balkan lynx, who was lounging on a rock, taking in the sun and grooming itself like it owned the place.
Excuse me. You are in my sunspot,
Damian the Balkan lynx growled.
Ha! Your sunspot?
The other lynx scoffed without even looking up.
I've been using this rock to sunbathe since last spring. Finders, keepers.
Damian's tail flickered angrily, and from that moment on, Damian the Balkan lynx was always suspicious of this other lynx. And this set the tone of the two lynxes' rough relationship. Over time, the two found out things that they really disliked about each other. It was almost like they were looking for things they don't like about each other. There were also many things Damian and the other lynx disagreed about. One of them being about who can sit and use the favorite sunspot, which usually ended up to be whoever got to the sunspot first. They would also argue about who was better at hunting. Damian the Balkan lynx was always sure it was him. Or they would argue about who left the best-looking paw prints in the snow. The other lynx would always insist that it had the best paw prints. And they would also argue about who had the fluffiest tail, which, for Damian, was a truly ridiculous argument, because of course to him, his was the fluffiest. But despite all their arguments, they never fought with each other. Both Balkan lynxes knew that they were part of a rare species, the Balkan lynx, and that there weren't many of them around, with fewer than 50 of them left in the wild. So hurting each other was never an option. Instead, they tolerated each other, barely, and had to make the best of what they had while living next to each other. One chilly evening, as the sun hid behind the mountains, both lynxes found themselves prowling and looking for fish to eat in the same stream of water.
This is my fishing spot,
Damian the Balkan lynx grumbled at the other lynx.
Oh, please,
the other lynx said, rolling its eyes at Damian.
The fish doesn't care whose spot it is.
Damian opened his mouth to reply when he suddenly froze. His sharp ears picked up a faint rustling in the bushes nearby. The other lynx noticed too, its ears swiveling toward the sound.
What is that?
Damian the Balkan lynx whispered. Before either of them could react, a loud snap echoed through the forest, and the ground beneath them gave way and opened up. Both lynxes tumbled into a shallow pit, landing in a heap of leaves and dirt.
A trap,
Damian exclaimed, his heart racing.
We fell into a human trap.
The pit wasn't deep, but the walls were steep and lined with loose dirt. Damian the Balkan lynx tried to leap out, but the earth crumbled beneath his paws, sending him sliding back down. The other lynx tried too, with the same result.
Just great,
the other lynx grumbled, shaking dirt from its fur.
Now what?
Damyan paced at the bottom of the pit, his mind racing.
We need to work together to get out of here,
Damyan the Balkan Lynx said. The other lynx raised an eyebrow.
Work? Together? With you?
Damyan the Balkan Lynx asked,
Do you want to stay here until the humans come back?
The other lynx sighed.
Okay, fine. But this doesn't mean that I like you. You're just kinda growing on me. And you're turning out to be a little more pleasant than I thought you would be.
They both came up with a plan. Damyan crouched low, creating a platform for the other lynx to climb onto his back. And with a mighty push, the other lynx leaped upward. With its paws scratching and holding on to whatever it could, it finally scrambled out of the pit, with its tail disappearing from Damyan's sight. Damyan the Balkan Lynx waited, staring up at the hole.
Well, are you going to help me?
The other lynx's face appeared above him.
Let's just say, I'm still thinking about it,
it said.
Don't you dare leave me down here,
Damyan the Balkan Lynx yelled from the pit. The other lynx chuckled and reached down with its front paws, hooking them under Damyan the Balkan Lynx's. With a combination of pulling and Damyan's own scrambling up the side of the pit, they managed to get him out of the trap. Both lynxes flopped onto the forest floor, panting. After a moment, Damyan the Balkan Lynx said,
Thanks for not leaving me down there.
Don't mention it, the other lynx replied, flicking dirt off its whiskers. They sat in silence for a moment, rather than their usual arguing and bickering. The trap they both fell in reminded them about how dangerous the world could be for Balkan lynxes. Humans with their traps and the shrinking forests were a constant threat to all of them. After catching their breath, they made their way back to their favorite sunspot, where their territories overlapped each other. As they walked, Damyan said,
We need a solution. If we're going to keep running into each other, we should at least make it a little less annoying for me and for you.
The other lynx tilted its head and asked,
Well, what do you suggest?
Damyan the Balkan Lynx thought for a moment.
How about we draw a line? You stay on your side and I stay on mine. And, I guess we could share the sunspot together.
The other lynx smirked and asked,
A line?
Damyan glared at the other lynx and asked,
Do you have a better idea?
The other lynx sighed.
Oh, fine. A line it is, but it has to be fair.
They spent the next hour marking a boundary, a crooked line that wound through the trees and rocks of their shared territory. It wasn't perfect, but it gave them a way to live next to each other without constantly stepping on each other's paws. As the moon rose, the two lynxes sat on opposite sides of the line. For once, they weren't arguing. Instead, they watched the stars twinkle above the mountains. Damyan the Balkan Lynx broke the silence and said to the other lynx,
You know, for being an annoying lynx, you're not the worst company to be around. I don't mind being around you too much.
The other lynx chuckled and said to Damyan,
Well then, coming from you, I guess I'll take that as a compliment. Thanks.
They sat quietly for a while longer, the sounds of the forest surrounding them. Despite their differences, they were grateful to have each other. After all, being one of the few Balkan lynxes in the wild could be lonely. As they prepared to part ways for the night, the other lynx paused and said,
"Hi, Damian." "Yes?" Damian replied.
"Thanks for not giving up on me back there in the trap," the other lynx said. Damian nodded and said,
"Same to you."
With that, they each went to their own side of the line, their tails flicking in the moonlight. And while they still had plenty to argue and bicker about, they also had something else that they realized after their time in the trap together. They had each other in this cold and dangerous world, no matter how much they annoyed each other. And the Balkan lynx lived happily ever after. The end. The Balkan lynx is a subspecies of the Eurasian lynx from the genus Lynx and can be found in Albania, Kosovo, and North Macedonia, with smaller populations in Montenegro. The Balkan lynx is considered a national symbol for North Macedonia and actually appears on the 5 dinar coin. The Balkan lynx is mostly found in Mavrovo National Park, which is in North Macedonia. A lynx is a medium-sized wild cat that usually has short tails, tufts of hair on the tips of the ears with large padded paws, and long whiskers. The Balkan lynx is a wild cat that lives in the forests and mountains of southeastern Europe in a region called the Balkans. It's a special type of Eurasian lynx, which belongs to a unique group within the lynx family. The Balkan lynx has soft fur that can be gray or reddish with black spots all over its coat. It has fluffy fur around its face, like a little beard, and long whiskers. Its ears are tipped with black tufts of hair, which help it hear very well. Its tail is short and stubby with a black tip at the end. The Balkan lynx can grow about 31 to 51 inches long. The Balkan lynx stands about 24 to 30 inches tall, and it weighs between 40 to 55 pounds. The Balkan lynx prefer quiet mountainous areas with lots of trees that provide shelter and hunting spots. The Balkan lynx is a carnivore. Their favorite meals are small animals like rabbits, hares, and birds. Sometimes they might hunt young deer as well. Balkan lynxes are also known to be able to catch fish. Balkan lynxes are mostly nocturnal and are solitary, which means they like to live alone. Each lynx has a large area it calls home, which is marked with special smells to keep other lynxes away, which can be called their territory. Male lynxes usually have larger territories than females. Female Balkan lynxes usually have 1 to 4 kittens in the spring. The Balkan lynx can live from 17 to 25 years in the wild. Balkan lynx kittens are born with their eyes closed and depend on their mother for everything. They start learning to hunt after a few months and stay with their mother for about a year. The Balkan lynx is very rare and critically endangered, meaning that there are very few left in the wild. Some scientists believe that there are fewer than 50 Balkan lynxes that live in the wild as of this recording. Have you seen a real-life Balkan lynx before? If you have, where did you see it? If you want to write to us, ask your parent to email us at animalstoriesforkids@gmail.com and tell us what you think of our stories. We would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/animalstoriesforkids. Until next time, bye!